But this is you. If you're founding something, if you're starting something, this is you. And no one's going to save you. No one's going to tell you what to do, because no one has as much invested in it as you. So in this instance, for some reason, it started to feel a little lonely. That was something I noticed.
Let me invite you to sit back, drop your jaw, tongue, and shoulders. Take a deep breath, and if you wish, close your eyes for a moment and feel the beat within. In a few seconds, you just jumped from your head to your heart and felt the beat within, opening up to receive even more value and fulfillment out of your business and life. And today's episode. I'm your host, Nico van der Venne, confidant to successful CEOs, founders, and entrepreneurs who are striving to achieve everlasting fulfillment. Before we dive into today's episode, I do have a small request. So at the end of the episode, don't forget to put that 5-star review and share this episode with somebody who you might think in your network that might be interested in the content. So thank you in any case, listeners, for all the support and all this time and all these episodes that I've been producing. So today I welcome Hersh to the show. Welcome, Hersh. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Nico. I love your intro. I love the kind of because we do have to shift our mood a little bit to get ready for this conversation. But it's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, indeed. So the first question mentioned in the green room already. Have you ever heard of CEO disease or founder syndrome?
I have not. Founder syndrome, definitely resonates when I hear it. It's not like I would be like, what the hell is that? I kind of get it, but no, I haven't heard it before.
Okay. So basically it comes down to a couple of symptoms that come out of a founder or somebody in C-level or an executive. Basically it is like isolation, micromanagement, change, all those beautiful things that, you get confronted with as an entrepreneur. I don't know if you've noticed those.
Yeah. I think the one thing that took me a while to recognize in myself, because I've always been entrepreneurial, but I think over the last 5 years is when I have had my own consultancy, no partner, nobody else, no staff at first, just me coming out of the pandemic and just starting my personal brand strategy business. Right. And the loneliness is the thing that I recognize, because you can have colleagues and you can have people who help you. You can have vendors, you can have coaches, you can have all kinds of people in your orbit, family, but this is you. If you're founding something, if you're starting something, this is you. And no one's going to save you. No one's going to tell you what to do, because no one has as much invested in it as you. So in this instance, for some reason, it started to feel a little lonely. That was something I noticed.
And how did that go from there? From noticing, because that's usually the first step, of course. How to go from there?
I think that, what it did for me was it gave me a hump to get over and say, okay, so that's the case. I'm not looking for a partner. I'm not looking for even a co-branding opportunity or a cross promotional opportunity. None of those things are what I need. What I need is to step into this and take a holistic view of the business and just do all the things that don't appeal to me that are important to get done, and just kind of start thinking like that. Don't think of myself as a piece of the puzzle. Think of myself as the puzzle. The irony is that's what I kind of tell my clients who are seeking help with their personal brand, because I remind them that your personal brand is actually bigger than your business. if you have a tire, automotive tires business, that's one thing, but you're bigger than that. So your personal brand is going to be about more than selling tires. The tire place can be only about tires, so I had to take that view though of like this whole thing from 30,000 feet is what I have to focus on. I have to preside over that. So I have to look at all the different angles and I just leaned into it and I think it's helped. But it's a long, changing a mindset in your 50s is like not necessarily his thing, right? Sometimes it is easy. Like there are certain things I kind of snapped, overnight. I did a lot of meditation and quantum consciousness work and things like that, where I was able to kind of think beyond myself anyway. Because if you go out and start thinking about the universe and the vastness of it, well, now, keeping your eye on your own practice or whatever, your own consultancy is not as daunting, is it? Because compared to everything else, it's like this is a very, very small piece.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I find that helps.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a different approach than what I've heard before, but I do see where you're going with this because I love those short films where they create like, they show you the Earth or the moon and then the Earth and then it goes up to, I think, Venus and then Mars and it goes and, size just, gets
Yeah.
bigger and bigger. And then you have the sun and then suddenly they go like Beetlejuice, like I don't say it 3 times because it might appear, but
Yeah.
that really big sun. And it's like, yeah, you kind of feel very small.
Yeah.
I used to struggle with that, philosophically, but wow, I really stumbled over that word. But it's
Yeah.
a switch in the mind, like you said, and then it's kind of at the point where am I really having impact? I'm doing this alone. I'm really sitting here. I'm managing my own stuff. I am the passion, the drive, and everything. And then you're trying to get these people to either find the customers or find people who you can work with to get that same passion and drive in there. So how did you skip from being that lonely part and going meta into a daily day story?
I think that it had to do with really facing a period of almost stagnation where I had a period last year where, this was all kind of a relatively new model, but it was a version of what I had done my entire career. So the proof of concept of what I was doing to help people with their message, with their voice, with their strategy, all those things, I had done that for 30 years in one form or another, as a publicist, as a corporate strategist. I had just done it like, different ways. But I didn't have the case studies yet to show everybody what it was. So last year I was fortunate enough to work with, 4 or 5 clients and create these kind of case studies and experiences. But in between, there was kind of a dry period and there was no way of knowing what was going to happen because it was not yet formalized, the system. I'm not a big fan of, the cast a huge net and just catch a million fish and then pick out, then from that you get 100 and from that you get 75 and from that you get 2. That just didn't for what I do feel like the right way. I'd rather figure out who those 50 fish are and really attract those 50 fish, because those are the ones I can help. Those are the people that are. So how am I going to do that? So I think there was a period of just a lot of like introspection and sitting there and going, okay, well, no one really has the answer because I've asked. I have coaches. I've had people to give me systems. Something works, something doesn't work. And it came back to this idea of, okay, you have to just serve, just help people and see what information that gives you back. So in other words, you had to reverse engineer it.
Mm-hmm.
I had to start providing a lot of value. And this is not new. This is a lot of people will say this, but the benefit of it is that if you're doing something for someone and someone's coming to you for something, someone's coming to you and presenting a problem, chances are you have some way to fix it,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I think that by listening to that and then saying, okay, I'm gonna help this person. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 5 hours, it could be, it could be anything, but it's like, I want to get better at what I do, and I want to gain more confidence, because I think that that's what it all comes down to, is confidence. Like I had these case studies now, but was I confident in the model that I'd created, or was I still not sure about it? And was that reading to people that I was talking to, and they're maybe feeling like they're not as confident? I think I am, they think they are, but they're not enough to pull the trigger. And it's like, and so I think it took like 6 months to break through that. And the only way to do it was by going out and doing and giving and kind of providing, which turned me in a way into more of a mentor, more of a coach in some ways, more of a friend. I have a little speck of dust or something. Oh, a little eyelash. And I think that helped my external presentation,
Mm-hmm.
and because it made it clearer kind of what I do. But it was a necessary evolution, because there's none of that. It's all based on real world experience, right? I could have
Yeah.
a great concept for a business and put up a sign and have a great name and have a great, product. But, the real world experience is what happens when someone buys it, pays for it, takes it home, uses it. Then what happens? And
Yeah.
so I needed to just play that out. I think patience, which I don't have a lot of patience for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, that may be another founder thing, that founders and CEOs are not imbued with a lot of patience for themselves, or in some cases anyone around them. But
Mm-hmm.
in my case, start with me. I wake up in the morning feeling like I'm a little late to the game. Like at 5 o'clock in the morning, I feel like, oh, what did I miss? Which is
Shouldn't
a
be there.
weird
Should
feeling.
have been there at 4. Yeah, no, it's
And
true.
nothing
And
would be there. No one would be there at 4, and
yeah.
no one would have done anything any faster.
Mm. Well, I see what you mean. And indeed, I as well have found, but I started off doing coaching and mentoring and training. That was the first step for my business. I was going on, I jumped, and it was 1 month before COVID. So you start your business during
Yeah.
COVID, right? 1 month before. So I had a full agenda. My schedule was full. And one day, like, I think it was the 13th of March or something like that, it was empty. Bang. One day,
Yeah.
next day it was empty. But what I did find is that at the start, even in those first couple of months, everything flowed from who I encountered, how I talked to them, how they saw my talents come up, and etc. And you just went with that step and said, okay, I need you for this and I need you for that. Okay, I'm busy. Let's just do it. I'll bill you for whatever I'm doing. And especially during COVID, those couple of months, I think, especially the first, I had 1 week that I really panicked because, I left IBM, which was like a platinum
Yeah.
seat, really good pay and everything, jumped and then went into the void. But that 1 week I kind of panicked. And then after that, I said, okay, let's do this. That's like you're an entrepreneur, do this. Otherwise, like you said earlier, nobody's going to come. Nobody's going
That's
to
right.
tell you how to, et cetera, et cetera. What I also found indeed was that the whole story after that has become a story of who I encounter, how I service them, and what came out of that as a business. And I evolved into, I had no idea I would go into learning and development or the region of confidant or stuff like that. I had no idea. And
Yeah.
still I'm building new things. One works, the other doesn't. One is a little bit more difficult to get into the world because, the confidant thing is something that a lot of people, it's about trust. So you need to know
Yeah.
somebody first and then goes built from there, where learning and development is known to companies and it's something they need and so on. So it's like a little bit easier. But doing all that, it is indeed a very lonesome road on one side and very steep learning curve of the self. It's something that you have to confront yourself in the mirror, and this
Yeah.
guy in front of you. Like you said, get up at 5 a.m. and you're thinking, what, the game's already running. Well, where was I? I should
Right.
have been X, Y, Z. But on
Yeah.
the other
Well,
hand, saying, no, hold on, there is time. You're doing this,
right.
you're doing it step by step, and it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to remind yourself. And you made me think of something, Nico, which is that when that nobody really feels sorry for a founder. Like you could have stayed at IBM, right? So,
Yeah.
I could have
You're not
worked.
child.
I could have stayed, I could have gone in the corporate, worked at an advertising agency, worked at a big PR firm. I could have fit in
Mhm.
anywhere because I wasn't an outcast. I was not an outlier in the typical sense. I
Mhm.
could put on the suit. I was an actor, so I could do anything. I could put on a suit and go to an office and, be that.
Mhm.
I could. It wasn't like that was abhorrent to me. It just was that my inclination was always to do something a little differently and think outside the lines a little bit, color outside the lines. That's what I did when I was a kid. I always colored outside the lines. And my mom, who would be more of she was a singer. She was kind of a formal, she thought of art more formally in terms of training, that kind of stuff. And you could tell she was like, you're coloring outside the lines. But eventually it was like, well, it's not a mistake. It's not because I don't care. It's because, I want this mouse to have a balloon and the picture doesn't have a balloon. So what am I supposed to do? But I think that nobody feels like, oh, poor Hersh, poor Nico. They're stuck in a spot with their business and they don't know what to do.
Mhm.
So that's when we realize, okay, we have to dig ourselves out. We got ourselves in this situation for a reason, and maybe the thing was not what we thought it was. Maybe the path that we thought we were going to take is not the path we need to be on, but it got us somewhere.
Yeah.
Got us even in this hole. So if this is the hole, maybe the way out is through the dirt and not up, right?
Mm.
Maybe we have to dig a new tunnel, do a thing like that. And I think that's quite often the case, is that we have to have confidence that we're going to get through. We're going to get through this tunnel. We're going to get through this hole, out of this hole. We're going to get through there somehow.
Mhm.
And we may not even know what that is until we're on the other side of it. But when you get on the other side, you have that story now. Now you're like, oh, but that's what I did. I
Mhm.
did this thing and I went through it and it worked. It
Mhm.
worked. Or as you point out, or it didn't work. And then I had to go this way. And then, nobody will say, nobody that I've ever interviewed, and you can correct me if your experience is different. Nobody I've ever interviewed has said, well, I tried something. It worked incredibly well. And I just kept doing it. And I did it forever,
Indeed. Hirsch, can I ask you a personal question on
Mhm.
business wise? It's not personal, but it's business
Yeah.
wise. How many failed businesses do you have in your back pocket?
Well, failure's relative. I would say, you know what I mean? Like it really
Yeah.
is, it really is relative. Like I would say I have one for sure, two, I think, two businesses that have nowhere near fulfilled their potential or been realized. One just was a and both were obviously good ideas. One I bought into, the other one I formed with a partner. But the investment I made in the first one was just like, like it just didn't happen. I don't know what I haven't thought about it in years. The other one is more, uh, something that we could still do, but it's like we failed at it. And so, and I put a lot of energy into that one. But I think maybe if that had just been one person, it would have succeeded. Because when you have two people, you could say two heads are better than one, but when you have two people, you can give each other permission to fail.
That's true.
You can say, you know what, buddy, why, you have this, I have that. Well, let's just cut our losses. Let's just cut our losses and stay friends or whatever. It wasn't even like about personalities. There was no personality clashes or anything. It was like, look, do you want to keep trying to do actually, and I would say that in a way I had an agency before COVID with a partner. And I guess I could say that also failed because in a way, COVID hit. All of our client projects that we had gone traveling around the world to line up got canceled in that same span. March. We came back from our world tour March 3rd at 2020, and the first client was a big client in Italy that we were going to do this big project for. And not only was Italy one of the first places to shut down, but it was an experiential project that had to do with, live gaming gaming events all over the world. Wow. And it just, everything got shut. It was just like, no, done. And even thinking on our feet and saying, you know what, it's gaming. We can do, people can be alone gaming. I mean, gaming can be anything, and we'll do it on Zoom. No, this was supposed to be like stadiums and whatever. So it was like, okay, so that's done. And we let go of everything, like if in a normal year you would say, okay, well, I'll talk to you guys in a month. We're going to see what happens. Yeah. Let's see if we can still get venues but it's almost like everything that was happening, just the world changed so much that none of the campaigns, nothing. So we would have had to rebuild have a year of just rebuilding to rebuild our agency essentially. And we just decided not to. And it's like, and I guess that's a failure in a way, but in another way, it was a pivot. It was like, okay, I'm going to go into this whole other world, podcasting, entrepreneurship, starting my own consultancy. I'm going to do all those things. And I didn't know what they were. I just started doing them one at a time. I started podcasting first because I just wanted to meet people. I felt isolated just as a human being, That led to interviewing entrepreneurs. Interviewing entrepreneurs led to my recognizing that there was a space for me in that world, doing some stuff, and it all kind of snowballed from there. But I think a good, the more I think about it, the more failures I can come up with. I think,
that wasn't the idea.
I mean, but I do think it's a matter of perspective, because you could look at almost anything as, did I fail or did I succeed to a point?
Well,
right?
That's kind of where I wanted to go with. And it's so wonderful to hear that you talked about the pivot. And indeed, it's failure is an option. We have this old, not that old, but this was this hero episodial thing on children's TV here with a car called Rocks, and they said failure is not an option. And
Mhm.
I always cringed when I heard that, because you're like telling small children that they're not allowed to fail, you know?
Right.
And I was like, no, failure is an option. On the contrary, it's a wonderful thing if you notice that. It's the same thing with the pain in general, and it doesn't mean physical pain or anything like that. It's just a pain in life. It's a part of life, and if you accept the fact that failure or pain is something that is prevalent in life, and it's just something that's there, and you accept it, and you see it more as an opportunity or as a switch or anything like that. And I think that's also one of the things that I've seen in the founder syndrome story, is that there's founders who are so embroiled in what they're doing and stuck in it, that they don't want to move away, because, we've always done this and it works. And like,
Right.
your
Right.
example is just amazing. In that case, you just, hit a wall right when COVID came in, everything fell apart, and you could have rebuilt that. But
Yeah.
no, life told you, or you said yourself, move on. Let's try a different world completely. And that's the whole thing about breaking through those symptoms, not getting stuck in one way of doing things. But it's not natural to stay in the same place. It's not
No.
natural.
No. And I think to your point, what my business partner in that case and I realized was we didn't miss it. Right. Like
Mm,
we weren't like, oh man, I can't wait to go out and do this. Now we would have been all fired up if
yeah.
things had gone as planned. It would have been fun.
Mhm.
It would have been fun. It wouldn't have, in the end, it's a lot of work. How much money you really make. Are you really it's just a great project. So what, it's like after that, is it really going to change anything? And I think that was another thing is we had stopped doing these long-term like visions,
Okay.
because what gets in the way of long-term visions is reality.
Mm,
You get a gig, you got to focus all your attention on it. And this is what I tell clients too, because when I was doing PR, they would come to me after the project was done and all this other stuff, and I would say, you have to come to me when the project gets awarded, and then I can start helping you figure out the PR, because you're never going to think about that. You're going to think about executing the project and getting the next project. You don't have any room
mhm.
to think about promotion. So let me think about promotion, and let me start ideating about that from the minute you start the project. And then by
Mhm.
the time it's done, everything will be ready to go. And I think it was the same thing with us. We were just doing projects and then getting the next project. And so the big dream, again, very difficult to share a dream or a vision with another human being,
Sure.
because, outside of a partnership in life. But I mean, like, even so, the idea that you would have to share your actual vision with this other partner in the business is just not, I don't see that happen very often.
Mm,
There's room for both of people's visions, but it's,
yep.
and so I think we just didn't miss that grind of what we were doing.
Mhm.
So the energy to like go and hustle that out, go and do and invest in it, you know, was like, well, if I'm going to invest, I'm going to invest in myself. That's basically how I felt. And I did. I invested everything I had in what I'm doing now, because I also believe that, you know, there wasn't going to be another like there was no reason to save it or hold back. It's not going to last forever, and it's not going to, it's not going to fulfill me, and I'm not going to feel better about myself. Feel better about myself if I put everything I have into myself and see how far I can take that.
Yeah. So Hersh, there's a lot of wisdom in our conversation, and I think we could go on for hours if
Yeah,
I hear where we're going. But what's one message that you really wanna bring out there to the listeners?
I would say that that we don't spend enough time listening to ourselves. And whatever mode you use, whatever that is, you could sit in a quiet room, sit in a park, go on a walk. But literally there's so much input. There's all our devices and it's a testament to our curiosity that we are constantly seeking information and answers.
Mhm.
But I think there's a really important point, especially for your audience, for the people like us that, do a lot of these solitary pursuits or take on a lot of responsibility or a lot of risk, that, that we look inside and just let our unconscious mind speak to us more. And in a way, that is a show of confidence that a lot of us also sometimes lack.
Mhm.
Don't trust our gut, don't trust our instincts or whatever. The smartest person in the room is when you're alone is you. So that just occurred to me as I was saying it, but basically that's true. When
Mhm.
you're alone, you're the smartest person in the room. So give yourself that space to really, really talk yourself through what you want, and to have ideas kind of percolate and pop up. And don't think that Google or an event or a lecture or whatever in itself will ever hold the one major answer.
Mhm.
You're going to probably here to have all your input and everything, but that moment alone is where whatever you took in becomes something that is unique to you. Because everybody else in that room heard that person speak. Everybody else who Googled that thing saw that answer.
Yeah.
But only you have the capacity to process it through that filter that is so unique to you. So use it.
Wow, that's some heavy stuff right there. I wanna thank you, Hersh, for taking the time today to have our conversation. So where can people, get in contact with you or look up stuff that you're working on if they're interested?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Nico. This has been wonderful, an honor and a pleasure. Yeah, they can go to yesbrandbuilders.com, yesbrandbuilders, all together, .com, and everything is there. My podcasts are there. They can get my book there. They can learn about me, see some comedy from my comedy days. Yeah, that's the hub.
So that's the
So
first thing
go
they'll
there.
see, the comedy. All the rest is just
No, the comedy's kind of buried a little bit under in the about section. But
okay.
but if they are interested in it, they'll find it. Like
Oh,
if
yeah.
people are curious, they'll find it. I don't think I have a section that says stand-up comedy, but it's like on the menu. I'm not that self-absorbed that I would be. But it's there. It's all there.
Okay.
The fun
Okay.
stuff is there.
So for everybody who finds the comedy, you get a free book from me.
Oh, nice. That's good.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Hersh, for the wisdom and the knowledge that you shared with us today. And to our listeners, thank you very much again for supporting the podcast. And remember to put that 5-star review on there and share it with somebody you know. Have a good one, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Everlasting Podcast. Let me leave you with a few questions to answer in the comments. How do you see the different topics we discussed during this interview? What are your thoughts? What stood out for you? Let us know in the comments or just send us your feedback. We launch new episodes weekly. Don't miss any by ensuring you are subscribed to the show. Click the follow button now. We depend on the organic growth of the podcast to inspire more and more people. So by giving us a 5-star review and sharing this episode with at least one of your friends who might be interested in the subject, you will significantly help more people become inspired. But more than anything, I am grateful to you for taking the time to listen to the show. If you are also a successful CEO, founder, or entrepreneur who has inspiring words to say, feel free to contact us for an interview at contact@nicovandevenne.com. Thank you for listening. We will see you again soon with more inspirational conversations on achieving everlasting fulfillment.